Spacecoin is launching the world's first decentralized satellite network aimed at providing global internet. They've successfully launched their first satellite. Let's give a round of applause for their C2C0, which is launched last December. And they're launching 3 new satellites this year. Very exciting. The vision is to connect 2.6 billion people worldwide who still lack access to reliable internet, which is honestly mind-blowing in today's environment, since we think of the internet as almost a basic necessity in today's environment, at least for everyone in this room, that's for sure. The ambition for Spacecoin and the journey wouldn't be possible without the exceptional guidance of strategic advisors and partners who understand both the technical and strategic aspects of space infrastructure. So I do want to give credit where credit is due. And as mentioned, we have an esteemed panel, and I'd like to start with Tae to give his introduction, and further along down the list, please take it away.
Hi, I'm Tae Oh. I'm the founder of Spacecoin, and I'm also founder and CEO of the core contributor of Spacecoin, which is Glua. Since 2012, I've been working in this company, Glua, had to build bring permissionlessness and what it's capable of to the more people, and then uplift them from their situation and get better to creating a borderless economy. And I've been working on a project called Creditcoin since 2017, which was focusing on banking the unbanked. And while focusing on that problem, we learned that there's an adjacent problem of connectivity, and that's how we ended up founding Spacecoin.
Thank you, Tae. General Clark.
So I'm a retired Army 4-star general. I was NATO commander in the late 1990s. Before that, I was with Richard Holbrooke. We negotiated the end of the conflict in Bosnia. Then I got to be the NATO commander to run it. And in the process, we stopped Serb ethnic cleansing in Kosovo. We saved about 1.6 million Albanians from being ethnically cleansed. And Kosovo is today an independent country. Serbia is still mad at me. If there are any Serbs here in the audience, come up and talk to me about it, and let's bury the hatchet. But I think that we've got to move into the 21st century in a way that respects individual rights and liberties and freedoms, and that's why I'm proud to be here with Tae Oh and working Spacecoin.
Thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Kim.
Thanks, Adam and General Clark. I'm Young-Ki Kim. I'm former president of Samsung Electronics. Now I'm leading a committee for autonomous driving back in Korea. Before introducing myself, I'd like to share momentum. When Tae present his sincere and grand visions of decentralized internet network based on low orbit satellite. Throughout my entire career, dedicated to the Samsung mobile network, which now supports about 1 billion smartphone users worldwide. Throughout all those entire career, I never envisioned that kind of grand visions. I think, but I immediately realized it is a great vision. It is more than worthwhile to pursue, and I decide to help him realize his vision with my experience spanning 1G to 5G. I think there are many obstacles which we have to overcome, since Tae's vision is breaking the limit. But I will help him realize his vision, and I'm very happy to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kim. And last but not least, Akin, take it away, my friend.
I'm Akin Jones. I am the CEO of Ella Bank. Ella is a 2 million user neobank, a YC company from Africa, and we're building global mesh banking. I think we are here because we're one of the first partners to Glua, Spacecoin, and Creditcoin. And how do you intersect banking with the space network? And how do you get a banking system without terrestrial networks? I think that's what we're trying to solve for. So, yeah.
Thank you. And once again, thank you everyone for being here. We're going to go through a couple rounds of questions, but I just want to say one thing before we jump into the Q&A. I'm very fortunate to have been selected here as not first, not the second, but the third choice to be the moderator. We did try to bring someone in from the UAE government, from their space agency, but unfortunately they couldn't join us. So I'm honored to be able to talk with us today, and thank you to the city of Dubai for hosting this wonderful event. Tae, you built Credit Coin, which is an RWA project. Now you're building Spacecoin, a crazy deep-in project launching satellites into space. Would you share how you ended up launching a satellite into space?
Right. So when we were deploying over 100 million US dollar in loans to over 2 million people with our partnership with Ella, we learned that many of the unbanked people that we were targeting were also unconnected. And if you're offline, there's no way for us to reach you. So we decided this is a problem that we need to solve as well. And we initially look into the solutions already in the market, such as Starlink, but unfortunately, the price point wasn't feasible for our target demographic. So you have to spend over $500 for the base station and over $100 per month for subscription fee. While Starlink works really well for high bandwidth for our purpose of providing basic financial transactions and communication, it wasn't a great fit. So we were researching what alternatives are in the market, and after researching, we understood that thanks to SpaceX, the space industry, it has been heavily commoditized, which will allow smaller companies like us to deploy satellites on our own and then start formulating a constellation. And that's how we ended up deciding to build our first satellite, CTC-0, launched last year, and deploying our next satellite, our first constellation, CTC-1.
Amazing. This is incredible stuff, and I'm excited to see what the future holds here. General Clark, could you comment on how open sourcing satellite technology at the software layer, accelerating global innovation and interoperability while maintaining essential security controls at the hardware level might be beneficial to national security and international cooperation?
I think that if you look at where we're going with satellite technology, of course, there's a huge proliferation now of satellites, low Earth orbit, medium Earth orbit, beyond the geosynchronous. And when we do this, we're trying to make space and access to space accessible to everybody. But a lot of these satellites are not oriented on the people who would most benefit and have no other alternatives because they're not connected to ground networks. And that's why our system is going to orbit over the equator, plus or minus 20 degrees. We'll pick up the central parts of Africa, Asia, Nigeria, Uganda, India, Indonesia, and these are huge populations. And large portions of them don't have access to fiber. They don't have fiber for the last mile. They don't have dial-up. They just don't have access. And so this is going to be really important. But we're also at a time when the national security situation, the global security situation is more, let's say, volatile than it has been for the last 35 years. There's a group of 4 nations challenging the current structure, led by Russia, China, Iran, North Korea. They don't like this system. They want their own system from start to finish. It's not just the dollar, it's the whole way the structure works. And so we don't know what's going to happen in this. We've got war going in Ukraine. You've got Russian spokesmen threatening nations in Eastern Europe with nuclear weapons. We know that Putin is building up forces in Belarus and opposite Finland. President Trump's trying to get it settled. And on the other side of the world, President Xi has said 2027 is his key moment. So I think nations that are not part of this are looking with some concern on the whole architecture in space as well as undersea cables. And they need greater control over their data, over their systems. And so I don't want to name any of these other systems that are going to be rivals of us, Tae, but I think you know who they are, because they could be turned off like this at a national decision, and then everything stops. And you don't know why they would be turned off. And if you were a nation that's not caught up in this immediate conflict, you couldn't do anything about it. So what we're doing is we're providing a service to nations. The data is theirs. The control of the satellites is theirs. They can have as many satellites as they want, one or a dozen or whatever, and it's all their system. All we are is a provider. But we're providing it in a way that it connects to the ground and serves a lot of people who otherwise wouldn't have it. So I think it's not only something that's democratizing space, but it's also providing a certain essential degree of stabilization for, let's say, the global south and other regions that aren't caught up in this struggle that's started to emerge.
Thank you so much, General. To hear your perspective on this is invaluable, and I hope everyone is out there listening. Incredible stuff. Dr. Kim, you were the ex-president of Samsung Electronics, as we mentioned, specifically focused on telecom network infrastructure. You've seen how telecom technology has evolved over the decades. How do you see satellite-to-phone technology evolving in the next 5 to 10 years? What challenges remain in making this seamless for everyday users, especially those in rural areas who currently do not have internet connectivity?
In response to the demand for complete coverage and stable connection, 3GPP has been developing standard for the link between satellite and phones. As of 2023, release 17 and 18 for the link has been published. And the grand frame 6G vision is in progress. And some companies provide satellite and phone link already. But at this time, it is important we note that there are somewhat different demands. One is for the people in developed country. For that demand, the 3GPP standard aiming to provide complementary coverage and the high-speed data. But there are the other demand for the people who have no internet connection at all. They need a basic internet service, which will be crucial for their life. I think my understanding of Spacecoin project is Spacecoin will provide this basic internet service. I would like to call it that's a lifeline internet service. I think Spacecoin gonna start their business with this lifeline internet service, and which will evolve to a variety of service as our Spacecoin decentralized architecture will attract more satellite investment and satellite involvement. I think within 5 or 10 years, the Spacecoin start with this lifeline internet service and evolve to the variety service in a way along with the communities. That is my projection for the 5 to 10 years. And Spacecoin has quite a specific and unique approach toward that one.
Thank you, Dr. Kim, for your perspective. It's very, very, very interesting. And Ken, you run a bank in Nigeria, and you are based in Africa, where many of the 2.6 billion who don't have access to internet are based. Would love to get your perspective on a few things here. You've been running a lending business over the past decade as well in Nigeria. Is it fair to say that you're somewhat of an expert on emerging markets, at least in Africa? What can you tell us about the market opportunity there for helping those without access currently?
I'll say the future of work is in Africa. It's the fastest growing continent, and by 2050, you're gonna have 2.4 billion people with a median age of 20 years old. How are you gonna get all those people work? Work is getting digital with the advent of AI. How are you gonna put everyone, how are you gonna get people access to medicine, access to banking, access to smart tech, IoT? And the only way we can do that is with Spacecoin or with space technology, because we have to be able to connect the remote areas that have no connectivity. Fiber and all these technologies is just too expensive to lay and to pipe down to some of these regions right now. And with the advent of space technology improving so fast, it's something we can coyly do. I was there with them at this first launch, and I'm seeing the progress, especially when we can hack the direct connectivity to the smartphone. Once we can do that, the access is enormous. Meeting with various leaders across the continent, we've met with various vice presidents, presidents, ministers of communications. We've seen that they're so excited about the strategic opportunity this presents. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for your perspective as again, someone who lives on the continent of Africa. I know this is near and dear to your heart, so thank you. Let's spend the last several minutes of our talk here opening this up to a dialogue, and we'll go down the panel in which each of you answer this next question. First, let's look 10 years into the future. What new applications or use cases might emerge when satellites become truly permissionless and decentralized? Tae, would you like to start?
I think there's 2 layers of services that will be developed. So one first layer will be what Dr. Kim called lifeline service, a basic service for people who gets access to connectivity such as payment, messaging, basic web browsing, and as the technology evolves, they will get to stream videos and whatnot. And that will be the basic level service that people will enjoy. It will be a 0-to-1 situation. Another layer will be decentralized satellite-enabled technology. So for example, our company has filed a technology that we call proof of location and velocity patent in the United States, which allows people to not only identify their location, similar to GPS, but also to generate a proof that you're located somewhere. This has never been done at this global scale, and by having a decentralized network of satellite, you can now add access of your physical presence of certain location to your security. So for example, you can use applications like, I decide to sign this smart contract only at this location and nowhere else. And that means you can add the physical security to your crypto security.
Wow, so you're talking about geofencing.
Correct.
Very
Yeah.
interesting. General?
When I think about Nigeria and these and the other countries like Indonesia that are going to be under the orbit of our satellite, I just see amazing things, amazing possibilities. One of the biggest things we can deal with is food security. When you don't have connection to the internet, I was in South Sudan a few years ago, and a woman was growing cassava. And she was asked, why don't you sell some? She said, because I'll be cheated, because I don't know the price in the market, because she didn't have any communications. So she's only growing it for her own family. So open up that communications channel through satellite, let her see what the opportunities are, and then when you can provide other information, weather information, warnings about infestations of pests, when you can deal with the exact value of your soil, square meter by square meter, like our farmers in the United States are doing in corn. They farm by the square meter. They know exactly how much fertilizer it takes. They know exactly when to cultivate it and so forth. It's amazing. And so in the United States, just to give you an example, 60, 70 years ago, we were getting like 50, 60 bushels of corn per acre. It's about 2.4 acres in a hectare, just to give you an idea. We were getting about 60 or 70. Now we've got hybrid corn and the improved cultivation and management of the land in such a way, assisted by satellite and real-time information, getting 170 bushels an acre across the whole country, and some places are getting over 200 bushels an acre. Now that's corn, but you can do the same thing with other crops. It just takes the flow of information, and it takes teamwork, because agriculture is probably it's the most fundamental of economic skills. Value and wealth comes from the land, but it is a bet your family every season when you plant. Normally, you have to borrow money to plant. You don't know for sure what the output's going to be. And so it's a pretty frightening business, and it's very individualized. So I think that our Spacecoin network is going to make a huge difference in agriculture. I know for a fact from my dealing in Indonesia that food security is one of the key issues in Indonesia. They just aren't getting enough nutrients and enough calories in that nation of 200 million people, 280 million people. And as Nigeria grows, it's the same issue. It's going to be that same issue across Africa. We just can't keep relying on Iowa corn farmers. We've got to develop the crops in these areas that are native to the areas. We've got to really work on the food security issue for mankind. So I think that's one of the big issues. If I could just have another minute. Bill Clinton said something that was really meaningful to me a long time ago. He said, you know, in the state of Arkansas, a lot of people don't have much of an education. He said, but you got to be careful who you're talking to, because even if they haven't been to Harvard, they might be really, really smart. Now, when I've traveled around Africa and Asia and met people, I meet some really, really smart people. They know the world that they're in, and they know it really well, a lot better than the academics know it. The thing is, if we can connect those people, give them the right educational tools early on, and bring them into the larger global community, think what we can do. You know, the most important resource we have on Earth is not lithium. It's the human mind and heart. And if we can connect through the internet with the 2.5 billion people that are not connected right now, and give them the same opportunities to learn that others have, just imagine how much better we can be.
Thank you. Dr. Ken?
Okay, so I'm gonna add some more things on the technical side. But that you are talking about Spacecoin vision very much. So I'm gonna focus the technology. Unlike the Starlink, the Spacecoin start with I call lifeline internet service. So which means definitely these two network will differ in a technology profile. I think so. We're gonna start with this lifeline internet service. So to make it happen, one great option would be NB-IoT at low orbit satellite, which will provide much better coverage at lower cost. That is one option and link level. At network level, we have a decentralized network architecture. So to make it happen, we could consider ad-hoc network, which could make the add and delete of each node with freely. I think I'm quite excited. This grand vision, decentralized network, which the Spacecoin will bring in. I'm quite excited with the futures. Thank you.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Earlier in the year, Tae and myself met with some central bank leaders across Africa. And we were trying to talk to them about CBDCs. We did get some agreements with some central banks. And what we noticed is, why were they not penetrated? It's back to the same thing, no proper connectivity. CBDCs can be a very effective tool. As we've seen, a lot of countries and emerging markets have very unstable currencies. And there's a real push and a real need for stable coins or different types of stable cryptocurrencies. And with space technology and with proper internet tools, penetration rates, you can see them jump as high as an additional 30%. Right now, CBDC penetration is less than 1%. in most emerging markets. So working with this ecosystem, I think how you have to think about it is you have to find a way to bridge the government, technology, and then user penetration. How do you bring all those three things together? How do you get all these people thinking in the same direction? And I think, a great first step is what we're trying to do at Spacecoin. We're talking to all these people, this entire ecosystem, and we're building something that would actually work. Shooting one satellite into space is a big feat, but trying to shoot 3 more this year and a lot more over the next couple of years is a much bigger feat. So, and then connected into a banking system and a mesh network and an ecosystem is something that's pretty amazing, and I think everyone should watch out for that. That's my comment.
Thank you, everyone. That's fascinating answers to this question. In our last minute, Tae, why don't you walk us through the roadmap on what everyone can expect from Spacecoin over the next 6, 12, and 5 years from now into the future?
So everything starts from the first step. We're trying to establish our first link as a baseline,
Yeah.
define our bottom line there, and from there we will increase our capacity while trying to minimize the price increase. So there's 2 axes here, it's price and the capacity of the network. And at the same time, we are adding the 3rd axis, which is the decentralization or being permissionless.
Yep.
So eventually we will push these 3 all together, and ideally we will create a cheap access to internet with a decent data rate with full decentralization.
Wonderful. What a fascinating topic. I hope everyone enjoyed this panel. We're talking about satellites and decentralized internet. How exciting.